Здравейте, това е Легенди, аз съм Георги Харизанов. Днес с Веселин Вълчев продължаваме с нашите международни епизоди за политика. Днешният ни гост, Bryan Leib. Mr. Leib, thank you. We are so glad and so honored to having you. Bryan Leib is a former Republican congressional candidate, senior fellow of our friends from CFR, Center for Fundamental Rights, pro-Israeli activist and owner of Henry PR, a political PR company based in the great state of Florida. So, Bryan, nice to meet you. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It's good to be on with you and to give your audience in Bulgaria a quick update about where we are right now here in the U.S., 7 days away from the most important U.S. election in our history.
So let's grab the bull by the horns. Why is Trump winning? It doesn't look like this a year ago. He looked kind of cornered. All the eyes were on DeSantis, your governor. People were somehow written Trump off, saying that with all the allegations and accusations, he doesn't have a chance. And suddenly, a week from the elections, even the left media is admitting that he's basically leading everywhere, and he might even win the popular vote. It was unimaginable a year ago. What happened?
If you had asked me a year ago, my friend, I would not have told you it's unimaginable. I've been proud to stand with President Trump from day one. I think, what you have with President Trump is an absolute fighter, someone that loves this country so much. And that's really resonating with the American people. And that's why 7 days away from our election day, President Trump is not only just tied in some of the most liberal polls out there, he's also leading in some of these polls. The American people are sick and tired of the last 4 years that we've been living under the rule of the Biden-Harris regime that has led to wide open southern borders, the economy that's not working for middle America. Everything is more expensive. We're being laughed at on the world stage. You have wars that are happening everywhere around the world. We keep spending money that we don't have in America, but it's okay to ship billions of dollars around the world to countries that aren't even strategic allies of ours. So listen, I think all of this is just kind of coming to center now, and the vast majority of the American people are saying to themselves right now, am I better off today than I was 4 years ago? And it's sad to say, but the vast majority of American people are not better off today than they were 4 years ago. And I think that you're going to see not just a big win for President Trump next Tuesday. I'm predicting the largest electoral college landslide in the history of U.S. politics.
It looked like something like 320 to 30 today. So let's see what's going to happen. But what changed? What changed? Does the president looks somewhat moderate and wiser in his public appearances? Not so hard, not so tough on the opponents. I listened to his interviews where he was saying basically, I had the possibility to lock Hillary up, but it was not good for the country. If I have to, I will pardon Hunter Biden because it's not good for the country, for the son of a president to be in jail. So how does this change happen? Is it influenced by people like you who are taking care of the optics and on the PR? Is he changed? What changed? He looks much more better and wiser, than the first campaign in 2016.
Well, I would agree with your last statement there. He definitely is on message. He is locked in, and he is bringing his message to the American people every single day. But I mean, if I could be blunt with you, you asked me what changed. There was a day in Butler, Pennsylvania when he almost died. And that was a moment really that showed a lot of people that hated him, that President Trump had the character to get up off the ground after they just tried to kill him, put his fist in the air and telling people to fight. I mean, even the most liberal people like Mark Zuckerberg, who is a full-blown liberal, hates Trump, said in an interview that when he saw Trump get back up, he felt a sense of pride in being an American. So I think a lot of things changed on that day in Butler, Pennsylvania. But listen, at the end of the day, President Trump is he's just a fantastic what we call in U.S. politics like belly to belly politician. He's a good campaigner. And he just connects with people. He resonates with people. And he's also out there doing 2-3 rallies a day. When you compare that to what Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are doing, I mean, it's night and day. So I just think there's a lot of things happening right now. But it really, again, it comes back to people asking themselves, are they better off than they were 4 years ago? And the vast majority of people are not better off. The cost of living in America is through the roof. The inflation that we have is through the roof. The wars that are happening all around the world. I mean, never has foreign policy, never have the American people cared so much about foreign policy as they do today. So I just think when you couple all of these things together, and also just with the genius of President Trump and who he is. I mean, he went to McDonald's to serve food at McDonald's.
Yeah, that was
genius.
the great trolling
It's a genius
ever.
move.
Yeah.
And it's just, he just knows how to connect with people. And I think last point I'll make on this is that, when he ran for re-election, there was a big protest vote against him. People that would say, I don't like Joe Biden, but I don't like the way President Trump talks, or I don't like the way he tweets, blah blah blah, whatever. So I'm going to vote for Joe Biden. That same protest vote doesn't exist today. In fact, it's the opposite. You have so many people that are now saying, I don't care how he talks. I just want my groceries to be cheaper. I just want America to be respected on the world stage again. I don't care how he tweets. We want President Trump. So I think that's really what's happening right now.
When you look at the evolutionary change that happened in the two big parties in the USA, basically the two only ones that matter, they shifted their polls, because years ago, usually it's normal for the left to be on the side of the little people, of the little person, the worker, the everyday guy. Those people are now voting for Trump, and the left is totally on the side of the corporations, the big pharma, the big tech. What happened? Who made this change? Is it Trump who started to actually talk to these people in 2016, finally noticing that they exist and their jobs are getting brought abroad by multinational corporations and their factories are going to Mexico and China and whatever? Or he just felt that the change is happening and actually was the good player on the political terrain who took advantage of it?
I don't think he's taken advantage of anything. I think President Trump, from day one as a presidential candidate, from throughout his entire career, President Trump has always been someone that connects and resonates with middle America and with the working man and working woman. Now, surely, yes, he's a billionaire and he has a lot more money than the average person has, but he feels the pain of the American people. He's always felt that way. Again, when he was a businessman, a presidential candidate, as president, now again as a candidate. So I don't think President Trump has changed at all. And in fact, when you talk to people inside of the Trump campaign and you say, how are we doing this so better this time? And they like to say things like, we're just letting Trump be Trump.
Yeah.
And Trump is the biggest asset that the Trump campaign has. So I don't think he's changed at all.
No,
to be honest with you,
the party's changed. The party's changed. So the party's changed
because of President Trump. President Trump.
That was my question. He forced the change. Yeah. He forced that change. That was. He
has. I mean, President Trump has really changed the Republican Party, and he's made us just such a big tent, party. And I mean, there's so many people that have registered. They've switched their party registration. They've left the Democratic Party. They've joined the Republicans, and a lot of that has to do with President Trump. It has to do with how he has set the tone. And the Republican National Committee, the GOP, has really leaned in to President Trump, which I think was the right thing to do. And yeah, we're showing the American people that the Republican Party is for the working people. It is for the average American. And at the end of the day, if you want a government that doesn't tell you how to live your life, if you want a government that doesn't make things more expensive for you, then you should vote for the Republican Party. You should vote for President Trump.
Why did he make his enemies so furious? We've never seen something like this coming from the USA, pointing at the US president, no matter who the president was. Because Bill Clinton was kind of accepted, not respected, not liked, but kind of accepted from both sides. He basically did some pretty right-wing stuff during his presidency. And then you got George Bush, who was not a favorite of the Democrats, but there was not even close to the way that they behaved and talked and writed and propaganded against President Trump. Why?
Why? Because President Trump is not part of the ruling political class in this country right now. He cannot be bought. He cannot be paid for. And he can't be controlled. His only mission right now is fighting for the American people and fighting for the future of the United States of America. And that, that really gets under the skin of the political elite and the political class here in America, because again, they can't control him. When he does things like cut regulation, I mean, during his 4 years, he cut so much regulation that the federal government had onto the business community. He just opened things up. That's something that you've never seen done before, because the typical political elite, wants to make sure that everyone's happy and they're doing the right things. But President Trump has put the American people first and speaks directly to the American people. And I think that's why, he draws the ire of so many of these lifelong politicians. I mean, listen, let's be honest. Joe Biden has been a politician sucking money from the federal government for over 50 years. Kamala Harris, she's not much different either. So these are people that are part of the system that President Trump, myself, and so many people in the America First movement, we want to destroy. We want to drain the swamp. There's no reason that the federal government should be one of the largest employers in this country. It's unconscionable. Democrats want to maintain that. Republicans and President Trump, we want to get rid of that. We want to drain the swamp. And I think they're very fearful because President Trump is definitely going to drain the swamp. Listen, his first 4 years in office, he was dealing with a lot of different personnel, navigating the waters. This 4 years coming in, he's got a great team aligned behind him. He knows how to cut and slash. He knows who's a friendly and who's a foe. And I can't wait. I can't wait until President Trump wins next Tuesday and we start fundamentally getting our country back to the Judeo-Christian values that we all love and cherish so much. He's going to make it happen. So long answer, but that's why they're so afraid of him, because he's the change agent that can destroy their political elite class.
Honestly, I can't wait also, because we are some kind of tired, for the Democrats to interfere in our own country's politics, which they are doing specifically aggressively since 2021. I can tell you, and I will tell you a lot about your ambassador here next time we meet. But is it possible for all the major politics that you have just pointed out to be done in these 4 years, at least a significant part of them? Because you're talking about, first of all, foreign policy, stop being the world policeman and spending crazy tax dollars everywhere around the world for missions that usually end up as a disaster, like Afghanistan, Biden's withdrawal, which is a total disaster, paid for by the American taxpayer with several $1 trillion. So this one is further international politics. Then you have the domestic stuff with the economy, the tariffs, bringing back the jobs into the USA. Then you have the MAHA movement, which is extremely important, looking at the picture of the healthcare problems that you have now in the US. So is it doable in 4 years? Isn't it too ambitious? Is it just campaigning?
No, it's not. It's not too ambitious. And let me just talk about what you just mentioned about how the U.S. is meddling in the domestic affairs of a country like yours in Bulgaria. With President Biden and Kamala Harris, we've seen a diplomatic class throughout the world that is more of activists than they are diplomats. The country, where I have the honor of serving as a senior fellow with the Center for Fundamental Rights, Hungary. I've had a front row seat to seeing how our current U.S. ambassador, David Pressman, seems to be more of a political activist, more interested in burning bridges than building bridges.
He's basically insulting the people of the country that he's serving in all day long, telling them this is not a democracy, this is a regime.
It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable, and that's going to change on day one when President Trump gets in. He's going to recall all of these woke ambassadors, these woke diplomats, these woke activists, and he's going to start hopefully sending people like me out into the world that are going to be President Trump loyal supporters, and also we're going to respect the host countries that we're in. You know, America first doesn't mean America alone, and also American diplomacy does not mean that we should be shoving our values and our beliefs down the throats of other countries. It should be a true partnership, building relations with each other based on mutual respect, shared values. And I think that that's what you're going to see with President Trump and with his foreign policy and with his ambassadors throughout the world. You're going to see a return to actual diplomacy and an end to the woke activism.
This is quite different from Hillary Clinton's, politics, enforcing democracy, especially in countries with rich oil fields. Quite the opposite. But what I wanted to ask you about foreign policy is actually the reason we met. It was in the pro-Israel summit in Budapest, where you had a very interesting conversation with Mr. Netanyahu's son. 2 years ago, Benjamin Netanyahu himself looked also a little bit cornered. He has just won the elections. I was listening to a great conversation he has with Peter Robinson from the Hoover Institution. He has just won the elections. Nobody knew whether he will be able to form a government. And then everything started, the democratic process, protests and everything. And people were saying, this time he's not going to last. And look where we are 2 years later.
Well,
how did that happen?
It happened. I think there's so many similarities. And someone should write a book about this. Someone should write a book about the similarities between President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu.
A lot of them. Yeah.
They have very similar personalities. They very similarly are attacked by the woke and liberals inside of their own countries. They're very consistently labeled as warmongers and hard right people. But I think that they're very similar people. But one thing with Bibi in Israel, he's a magician. I mean, obviously Israeli politics are a lot different than American politics. We have two parties here in America. Israel has, I've lost track of how many parties they have. And he really has become an expert on threading the needle in terms of how to put together a coalition to be able to govern. But I think, when you look at the last 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration towards Israel, it's been nothing short of just disgusting, to be honest with you. I mean, especially over the last year, as Israel has been pushing back and fighting back against the radical Islamic terrorists in Gaza and in Lebanon, and also from, unfortunately, inside of Israel as well. You've seen President Biden try and handcuff the Israelis and, talk about embargoes on weapon shipments and telling the Israelis how, when, who, where, all this different thing about how to fight. I think what we've seen in the last couple of months now is a big pivot from the Netanyahu government and from Netanyahu himself to really just go on the offense. I mean, you saw the beeper attacks that happened in Lebanon. You've seen Israel killing Ismail Haniyeh, one of the founders of Hamas, inside of Tehran.
Yeah, that was crazy. In a secret, in a secret location. Not so secret.
Has gone. What's that?
In a secret location, he was there. Not so secret.
I guess it wasn't so secret. Huh?
Not so secret after all.
Yeah, but I think it's just been watching this Biden-Harris administration really just burn a lot of bridges with our allies around the world.
Why? Why is that happening?
Tough to watch. Why
is that happening? You have a lot of experts. You have people who are more than familiar with the Middle East and with Israel in the Pentagon, in the State Department, in the CIA, and everywhere. Why is the presidency doing this crazily stupid instructions to Netanyahu? And obviously, he is so successful in fighting this war because he is doing exactly the opposite of what the White House is telling him to do in the last 6 months. Don't touch Rafah. Sinwar went in Rafah. Don't attack Iran. Haniyeh went out in Iran, and now they destroyed all their ballistic ballistic facilities. So he's doing precisely the opposite of what the White House is telling him. And first of all, obviously, this is bringing him success. And second of all, White House looks like a joke. Why?
Well, the White House is a joke. The White House is...
that explains it.
The White House is... Everyone, around the world, over the last year, a couple of years, I mean, I've traveled all around the world, and the way people refer to Joe Biden is, sleepy old man, I mean,
that was sad, yeah.
Listen, it's painful, right?
That was sad.
For me to talk about this,
that was
but we're
sad.
not respected like we were on the world stage when President Trump was in office.
That was sad, I'm a Christian. I love all the people around the world, and that was sad. Watching this man just put it there by God knows who, and obviously struggling to stand, even not even talking. That was sad.
Yeah.
Who did this? Who did this? Who's ruling your country? Who did this? Who is actually running your country?
Who's running the country?
Yep.
Barack Obama. Barack Obama.
Think so, yeah. I was listening.
I mean, he's still very much pulling strings behind the scenes, and when you look at the Biden-Harris administration, the vast majority of the personnel were also in the Obama-Biden administration. So yeah, Barack Obama is still pulling a lot of these strings. And honestly, I don't have an answer for you in terms of why, the U.S. under the leadership of Biden and Harris have gone down the roads they've gone down. It doesn't really make any sense to any of us. But again, I think that's all driving us towards what's going to happen next Tuesday. When President Trump has just a massive landslide victory, because the American people are done with this. They're done with how the Democrats are trying to fundamentally change our country. I mean, if you go into a men's bathroom at Harvard University, there's a box of tampons in a men's bathroom
for whom?
College.
For whom?
I mean, they're just fundamentally trying to change this country right now, and we're not having it.
This was my next question, because this crazy stupid politics from the White House, they are actually resonating on the domestic on the people in the U.S. and on domestic politics as well. Because what we were seeing in the last year with this anti-Israel protests, which are basically pro-Hamas protests, was crazy. The people who are supposed to be the brightest, the most educated, the next leaders of the society, marching there, shouting against some genocide. Last December I was in the ASU, and those are not the friendliest people to the pro-Hamas protest, because the frat boys just destroyed the tent camp and everything. They didn't like it very much, the whole idea of a pro-Hamas protest there. But some people were giving leaflets around the university, stop the genocide. And I asked them, what genocide? Do you know what genocide means? And I was trying even to make a video with my phone, and basically they were running. They were saying, oh no, those are just leaflets, don't ask me, and they were running away. And those are the smartest people, those are the leaders, the children of the rich families, of the successful people who are supposed to be the next leaders of your society, marching around and saying from the river to the sea. First of all, this is a call for genocide. This is a call for mass extinction. I'm not sure that they know which river and which sea, but if they actually know what this slogan means, from the river to the sea, they are either extremely stupid that they don't know what that means, or they are calling for mass killings and for the destruction and the erasure of the Israeli state. So how does that happen? Please explain to me. The elite of the nation, the young elite of the nation, shouting from the river to the sea.
Well, it's happened, my friend, because we have seen our college campuses go from being institutions of higher learning and places that should be creating our next generation of leaders and preparing them for the workforce, where now college kids are graduating with a diploma in activism or with wokeism, instead of actually knowing how to carry out their job. I mean, there was a poll that came out a couple of weeks ago that said that 75% of all of the largest employers in America are deeming the Gen Z population, which are the ones that are graduating college right now, as unsatisfactory to do their jobs. And that's happening because you have these college presidents and college boards that they don't want to offend people. They want to create safe spaces for people. They want to have all this diversity of opinion and diversity of thought. And by the way, diversity of opinion and thought is a good thing. But when you're talking about killing Jews, when you're talking about burning American flags, that's not diversity of thought. That is activism. That is Marxism. And that's what we see happening on our college campuses. And listen, the only reason that we saw, college presidents like from Columbia, Harvard, MIT, Penn actually lose their jobs was because of Republicans. It was because of Republicans that had the gavels on the committees to have these people testify. If it weren't for Republicans, we never would even know what was happening.
The hearing of Claudine Gay was humiliating. I was embarrassed even to listen to that. The highest academic person of the most recognized university in the world, not able to respond to a single question. Why are your students calling for genocide or for mass killings or for violence? Well, just calling for it is not a violence, it's verbal, it's this and that. And the way she was struggling, to answer a simple question, that was humiliating. I was embarrassed to watch that.
Let's ask ourselves why. And the big issue that we have with a lot of these big institutions, the foreign money that flows in from countries like Qatar and from the Islamic Republic of Iran and from other countries, it's unfathomable. The amount of money that Columbia or Yale or Harvard, the amount of money that they get every year from foreign governments as donations. So yeah, of course, when they're asked questions that they certainly know the answer to, they don't want to answer it because they don't want to alienate their donor base. They don't want to cut off the billions of dollars that are coming from the Qataris or from the Iranians. That's really what's happening. So it's been painful to watch. But I will say that we've heard President Trump speak many times on this issue very passionately. He said that there's no place for anyone in this country that wants to burn the American flag, that wants to call for the death of other Jewish students. So I think you're going to see a lot of these college students that are here on student visas, mind you, that want to burn the American flag. They want to threaten other Americans. We're going to deport them. Zero tolerance.
Yep, it's normal. After all, if you don't respect the country that you're living in,
it's normal for a country like yours. It's normal for a country like Hungary because you guys don't play games. In America, we're too concerned about people's opinions, people's thoughts, people's feelings. Listen, at the end of the day, if you're here on a student visa and you're burning the flag that's right here on me, you're done. That's it. Goodbye. It's normal. This is not open for conversation anymore. And the vast majority of the American people feel that way. But because we have these liberals, these woke progressives that are running our country right now, that are running these colleges and universities, it's not happening. And again, this is all going to change when President Trump gets back into office. Leadership starts from the top. It starts from the top and it works its way down. When you have a strong leader in the White House as your commander-in-chief, things are going to get cleaned up very quickly, in my opinion.
They were. Basically, one of the funniest things for me is that Democrats are both so concerned about Ukraine and so anti-Israel. And this is kind of moronic from our perspective because Iran is at the bottom of it. Russia is bombing the Ukrainian cities with Iranian drones. So you can't be pro-Ukraine and pro-Hamas. You can be pro-Ukraine and anti-Israel because both countries are attacked with the heavy involvement of Iran. Okay, in the Middle East with proxies and in Ukraine through the Russian troops. But those are Iranian drones, Shahid, cheap ones but very effective, who are blowing up in Ukrainian buildings. So you have the same enemy in both places. How can your position be so different? It looks moronic, no?
Yeah, it does. And by the way, it's worth mentioning, that, with the 4 years of President Trump, you didn't see the Russians and the Iranians working together. You didn't see the Iranians and the Chinese working together. In fact, no one was buying oil.
Yeah, the Iranians were
no one was buying oil from the Iranians because we we're enforcing sanctions, and we said to places like China and Russia, if you want to buy Iranian oil, guess what? You have no access to the U.S. market. And they said, what should I do? Do I want to have access to sell our goods in the U.S. market, or do I want some cheap gas?
That's an easy choice, no?
Yeah, it's an easy choice, right? But like, they made those decisions. And by the way, the sanctions still exist on the books right now, but Biden has never enforced a single sanction. So a country like the Islamic Republic of Iran went from having, I think it was like $4 or $5 billion in international reserves to now they have hundreds of billions of international reserves because they're selling their oil everywhere. They're selling, doing all this trade all around the world. And again, it all comes back to the fact that, when you have a weak leader in the White House, it brings your adversaries closer together. When you have a weak leader in the White House, our adversaries exploit the weakness. Russia goes into Ukraine. Iran starts sending more and more money out the door to Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis and everyone else. And President Trump is exactly correct. If he were president, Russia would not have invaded Ukraine.
Why do that? Why do that?
October 7th would not have happened.
Biden is so connected to Ukraine.
That he is.
Not Hunter on the board of Burisma, but the big man himself, as he was described in the emails. He's so connected with Ukraine. And basically, even for your own interest, you want this country to prosper. Even if it's for your son to take his millions from the board of this company. But you want this country to prosper. You want to take care of it. And why are you arming the ally of its biggest enemy? So today Iran can just give away cheap drones to Russia because they have the funds to do it. They're full of cash, as you said. Yeah. It's unexplainable. It's unexplainable.
It is inexplainable, but I want to go back to a point that I mentioned earlier about how Obama is still really pulling a lot of the strings. Because what we saw with 8 years of President Obama was he wanted to realign the Middle East, and he wanted, for whatever the reason, he wanted the Islamic Republic of Iran to be the leader of the Middle East. That's why he did the JCPOA deal. Crazy. That's why he unfroze billions of dollars. That's why the Biden regime now has unfrozen billions of dollars. I mean, it's unconscionable why we would send billions of dollars. Forget about the fact that we're not enforcing sanctions. That's a whole other conversation. But the fact that we would literally unfreeze billions of dollars to the world's leading sponsor of terrorism, a country that in their parliament constantly is chanting for death to America. They're burning the American flag inside of their parliament. But hey, guys, don't worry. Keep burning our flag. We'll send you a couple more $1 billion so you can buy some more flags to burn.
Yeah.
And one
day send nuclear bombs around instead of drones, because if they have the possibility, they will do it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I've been monitoring the situation in Iran for a lot of years now, and for some reason people don't like to speak the truth about this. And the truth of the matter is that the Iranians already have a nuclear bomb. They already have enough. They already have enough enriched uranium for small tactical nuclear bombs. I mean, so they have the resources right now, and I think that's why you see a lot of countries. Maybe not going on the offense against them, because I think they already have the capabilities. But I think one thing we saw with Israel this past Saturday, with them taking out a lot of their missile production facilities, they took out almost all of their air defense systems as well. I think Israel's going to be going in, and I think they're going to be striking a pretty big blow to the Iranians pretty soon here.
Is that a threat to the U.S. interest in the region somehow?
I don't think so. Not to my interest as an American.
Good.
I think I think the world would be a safer place, first of all, if the mullahs in Tehran were not running that country anymore. And by the way, the Iranian people would be free once and for all. The Iranian people, they don't subscribe to this regime. The vast majority of them don't even vote in the elections, because they don't support this regime. I mean, we've got to get back to a place of peace on the world stage. And when you look at all the unrest that's happening in the Middle East, every single link comes right back to the head of the snake, the Islamic Republic of Iran. So listen, I'm not saying, do regime change, but I'm saying do something, because the Iranian people deserve better. the Israelis, the Arabs in the Middle East, we as Americans, we all deserve better than having to worry about a genocidal maniac regime that wants to blow everyone off the face of the earth. We all deserve better than that.
Yeah, their proxies are blowing people off every day, basically. So we've seen a lot of that. Where are you? What's your stance on defense spending abroad? Because obviously having $35 trillion of debt is huge. You know, just the annual interest on this debt is already starting to become bigger than your defense expenses. But what's your stance on defense spending abroad? I'm telling you why I raise these questions. There are two sub-questions. First of all, the biggest fear of Trump becoming a president in Europe is that he will leave NATO alone, he will leave Europe alone, and Europe will not be able to count on the US as an ally as it was, and will be left alone facing the enemies, whether they come from the Middle East, from North Africa, from Russia, which is basically an active enemy of Europe right now, attacking a European country. And the second thing is, okay, you spent tons of money in the Middle East. Only in Afghanistan, I was listening to Eric Prince, he mentioned something like 8 trillion or some crazy numbers, you know, $250 for a gallon of petrol, you know, the spending was crazy there from the Pentagon. But if you did not spend this money, God knows what might happen. And what your enemies could have done even post 9/11, not to mention before that. So where are you? What's your stance on the US spending American taxpayers' money for defense expenses abroad, outside of your borders?
Well, I think at the end of the day, if it safeguards the American people to invest in strategic and regional allies around the world, I think that makes sense. Israel is a prime example of that. There's a big misconception that the U.S. just sends billions of dollars every year to the Israelis in cash, and they spend it and do whatever they want. The vast majority of the money that we give to Israel is actually spent here in the United States of America, creating American jobs, first and foremost, and second of all, Israel is the tip of the spear in the Middle East. So
it's the first line of defense. Yeah, it's the first line of defense.
It's our first line of defense. Yeah. So and NATO is another good example of that. And you've heard President Trump speak very strongly about NATO, and I don't think he wants to pull out of NATO in any way, shape, or form. But I think he wants other countries to pay their fair share, and he was able to do that during his administration. So I think spending U.S. taxpayer dollars, on military assets around the world makes sense, as long as it's doing it with countries that that we have a strategic relationship with. And I think Ukraine is a prime example of this. I mean, Ukraine is not a strategic ally of the United States of America. We don't really do much trade with them. It's just kind of an endless check that we keep writing every month. And something like that, I think, needs to come to an end. And that's why a lot of American people are very leery about the amount of money that we spend on the world stage, because in a lot of ways we just set money on fire. I mean, we spend hundreds of billions of dollars around the world every year, with countries and different projects that have nothing to do with the American people, and with our prosperity, and with our security, and with our defense. So, I listen. I'm all about continuing to support our strategic allies, but I think that we also need to take some line items, take a red pen to some of the billions that we're sending around the world that we get nothing in return for. It makes no sense.
If you say America first and we focused on our domestic issue primarily, isn't it kind of stepping down from the world stage, from being the world leader and leaving a empty space and new terrains for China, Russia, India, in which they can increase their authority on the global map?
Well, I don't think so. And I have long maintained, as has President Trump, and as have a lot of other people much smarter than me in President Trump's circle, that America first does not mean America alone. It means that we definitely do need to make sure that we safeguard our country and take care of the American people first and foremost, but that doesn't mean that we retreat from the world stage. It means we be smarter on the world stage. If there's countries out there that are not strategic allies of ours, countries that are not proud of the relationship they have with the United States of America, we should stop sending money to them. Full stop. But for countries out there that really it's a strong relationship, it's a strategic ally of ours, I don't think you're going to see President Trump retreat from that at all. And in fact, I think you're going to see the opposite. I mean, I think that there's so much more trade that we can be doing on the world stage. It's going to benefit the American people, benefit the American workforce. And we're gonna go toe to toe with the Chinese and with the Russians and with all the other countries out there. Again, America first does not mean America alone, but it does mean that we need to take care of the American people first and foremost.
As a political PR, maybe last question, focusing on the campaign of the Democrats, which looks kind of funny for me because I really cannot see what the focus is. Except for blabbing all day about Trump's character. We know who Trump is already. You can't surprise us. There's pretty much nothing new you can say about him after those 8 years. But the green narratives are kind of gone. The trans policies, the LGBTQ stuff is kind of gone from their campaign. That's a good thing, but why does it happen? Is it starting to hurt them, or?
Yeah, I think it has hurt them a lot. I mean, the Kamala Harris campaign right now has no message, has no direction, has no enthusiasm.
He hasn't. Yeah, I cannot catch it. Trump is bad. Listen, Trump, what are you saying? What?
Huh?
They just say all day long Trump is bad. This can't be a serious message.
Let's take it a step further. They're going a little further than just saying Orange Man is bad. They're taking it to the point of Orange Man is Hitler, and he's holding Hitler and Nazi-like rallies. Yeah. So when you start getting to that point in American politics where you're calling your opponent and drawing parallels to Adolf Hitler, you're pretty desperate. And listen, that's backfired in a very big way, and it's going to continue to. I think the Harris-Walz campaign, they don't have any message, they don't have any direction right now. They can't compete also with President Trump. They can't, rent out Madison Square Garden and have 30,000 people show up. They just can't do that. They don't have that enthusiasm. The Democrats don't have that kind of base right now, and Republicans do. So I listen, as a proud Republican, a proud supporter of President Trump, I'm actually, I got to tell you, I'm very happy that Kamala Harris is the candidate. I think we were in good shape against Joe Biden as well, but I think even more so against Kamala Harris. She has no record. She has no policy. When she talks, people look the other way. I mean, she's just not a candidate that inspires people. She's not Barack Obama. Listen, Barack Obama had no policies, but he was charismatic. He could sell, ice to an Eskimo, and Kamala Harris doesn't even have a tenth of that charisma. So I think going into Election Day next Tuesday, we're in really good shape. And I'll bring it back to the beginning of our conversation, where the American people, us as voters, I don't think we're so complicated, to be honest with you. I think we look at what's better for my family. Is it better for my family to have a president that wants to keep men out of girls' sports? Is it better to have a president that wants to secure our border? Is it better to have a president that wants to bring down the cost of gas and eggs and groceries and buying a home in America? Is it when you ask those questions, it's very simple. And I think the vast majority of the American people,
it's not that
we vote with our wallets and our checkbooks. And there's no doubt about it. We were better off 4 years ago with President Trump, and we're going to be a lot better off with President Trump back in the White House. That's for sure. The
team that's gathering around him looks great. You have people like RFK and Tosi and Elon and Vivek and JD, and on the other side you have the Cheneys. That's just amazing. How about that support, huh? How did that happen?
Yeah, I don't know how many Democrats out there are getting excited about Liz Cheney or other people, but you're exactly correct. President Trump has really developed just such a dream team of people from all different sides. And again, it goes back to my point I made you that the Republican Party under the leadership of President Trump really has changed quite a bit, and we've become a big tent party. Where you've seen people like Tulsi Gabbard come in, leave the Democratic Party, people like RFK coming in. So we have a lot of things going for us right now, leading into Election Day, and I just want to close with this. I know I'm speaking to a Bulgarian audience right now, and we touched on this a little bit today. I can promise the Bulgarian people that if and when we elect President Trump back into the White House, we're going to see a shift on the world stage. We're going to see a shift back to diplomacy, back to respect, back to actually building bridges with countries around the world instead of this activism, this wokeism that we're seeing right now, unfortunately, in your country, in Hungary, in Israel, and so many other countries. So
Turkey, I can speak all day.
Yeah, we're going to get back to a place of mutual respect, because that's what American diplomacy should be. It should be based on mutual respect, not on wokeism.
Sure, and what we actually love about America is the American dream. The freedom, the economical freedom, the pursuit of happiness, the creating the possibility for the man to gain a better life through hard work. And basically, this is what we like about America. We don't like the LGBTQ propaganda that they're trying to sell us for the last 20 years. It's not working here. And it's raising the levels of negativity through the United States. But it's raising the level of negativity through the United States. And yet, once again, it's being paid with your tax money. It's horrible. And it should stop. And I hope it stops. And thank you very much for your final message. So I hope you join the team as well. Keep on building the team. It looks great on the outside. I believe it looks even better on the inside for people like you. So let's hope it all goes well. Let's hope for a huge victory next Tuesday, and let's hope you join the team as well. And see you in New York in December, right?
Yeah. Yes, God willing. We'll see you in New York at the New York Young Republican Gala, and. I appreciate the kind words about President Trump and about our America First movement. We're all very excited going into Election Day. Really feel like this is a chance to really take our country back, and I think it is. So God willing, we're going to have a big result on Tuesday, and hopefully we'll do another one of these after we win, and we can celebrate the big win. Okay.
Hope you do it. We'll celebrate together. All right.
Sounds very good. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you very much.